you all for your patience as we were down to the wire trying to get some materials back to you. And I'll talk today a little bit how we got from our last conversation, and frankly, every one of the conversations we've had that's gone at one piece of Project Onramp, to kind of where we're at today. And our goal coming out of today is to get some feedback around, is what we're sort of presenting as a plan reflect the conversations and sort of the vision you all have talked us through in the last couple of months? Are there pieces missing or misprioritized? And then our goal is to sharpen our pencils. We have kind of a loose budget, but really trying to figure out, to David's point earlier, what's it going to take to make this happen? It's a combination of staff and some outside support and some technology. And so trying to really understand what the costs are and then how we're going to pay for it. So we have the Life Science Cares board meeting is the first week in December, where they will discuss and review all of our 2020 plan. And so Project Onramp will be a piece of that, and looking forward to getting kind of endorsement from the board to make the investments that we propose. So I'm gonna, oops, hold on a second, share my screen. Very quick PowerPoint just to, I gotta go backwards, just to get us started. So here we are. I think this is 5 meetings in of this group looking at the future of Onramp. So I just did a quick recap. I'm going to talk a little bit about, the document that you were emailed yesterday. I don't know if we'll go kind of line by line, but I'll talk high level and kind of philosophy wise, and then we'll have a conversation. So what you see in that document is, I think, 6 areas of focus, 6 things we heard in the conversations we've had over the last few months. The first, and I think the one we have prioritized, certainly in the upcoming year as top priority, is to improve the student support, to provide additional trainings, to review summer programs, to add more ways for students to connect, to address some of the pinch points in professional communication, and prioritizing ensuring the student experience and supports, as that will really kind of drive many of these other pieces of the plan. The second is to strengthen company participation. And interestingly enough, we're not actually thinking about, needing 1,000 companies on board. We're thinking about finding the right companies. And so you'll see in the plan moving towards a company participation agreement that spells out a company's commitment. Project Onramp providing additional resources for managers and supervisors to help build the atmosphere, build the work environment for students coming in. And then on our end, strengthening processes to ensure that we can make the best possible matches in a timely way. Number 3 is to build a robust alumni network. And you'll see much of this work kind of living in 2023 and 2024, just frankly, a prioritization decision, but looking to actually develop a group of alumni that will serve for each other and connect to life science, to Project Onramp when looking for opportunities, but also help build a community around Project Onramp itself, that continue this idea of cohorts and a sort of prestigious badge of honor to have gone through this program. Number 4 is to focus on marketing and recruitment, and this, maybe a little bit inside baseball, but we know we need to do a better job of telling our stories, the stories of success, the stories within companies and within student experience, to then support all these other things, all right? Recruitment, company participation, student support. And so we have a kind of work stream around marketing and recruitment. That also involves a continued focus on our partnerships with our student support partners, and identifying organizations, existing organizations and other pipelines that are a good fit for Project Onramp. Number 5, measure our success, and we talked about this in the last meeting, determining those key performance indicators for each of our stakeholders, some of which overlap and some of which are specific to a stakeholder, but building in the process and in our toolbox the ability to measure those successes and measure them over a long period of time. And number 6, I don't know if you heard this or if we heard this as much as we've, I think, tried to underline this, is that we want to do this sustainably. This is not, this is a program, we're in it for the long haul, and we want to make sure that we're growing in a smart way. So that reflects sort of the 6 buckets you see in 2022, 2023, and 2024. Just briefly, what's not there? So hearing you and in our conversations, what we are not proposing is changing the core program or the model. It is high touch, it is deep impact, it is cohort based, it is community building. So we're not proposing any major changes to that model. We're also not proposing what I've characterized as explosive growth. I mean, you'll see targets to reach 150, 175, and 200 students. Nothing to turn our noses up at, but we're not ultimately talking about reaching 1,000 students a year in the next couple of years. And that's frankly listening to our student support partners about the experience and about the pool of the best candidates for these roles. Number 3, you don't see expansion to other student cohorts, although we talked about it. You'll see in 2024 consideration and exploration of potential placements for community college students or high school students. This is something where we really don't feel like we'll have a lot of success with everything else we need to do in the next year or 2, but also didn't want it to fall off the radar. I mean, I think the supporting community college students, supporting high school students with these experiences is certainly key to the Commonwealth. Ryan and the team at the Life Science Center have invested quite a bit in this area, and we want to be a player and a partner. It's just further down, I think, our road for Project Onramp. And then I guess just quickly, number 4, what's not in this plan in front of you is national growth of this program, although I will say that the Life Science Cares affiliates in other cities are working towards similar program launches in summer of next year. And we, I think, made the decision to think about the future of the program here a little bit separate from how they're launching, but mostly because we believe the work we've done and the path we've laid and the learning we have is actually going to inform their work. So while what's in front of you doesn't show national growth, I would expect that Onramp will be at least in one other city up and running next summer, if not in the 3 other locations. Oops. So with that, I'm gonna stop that share, and I don't know if it's helpful. I can share the strategy document. Again, I don't know if it's super useful to go one by one, but as we were trying to lay out what the next couple of years might look like, this is how we approached it. Things we heard from you that we must have, things that we really should have and really work towards, and things we could have that, you know, resources and time and appetite and bandwidth willing, we could provide over the next couple of years. So 2022, focus and strengthening the foundation for the internship experience. 2023, really thinking about leveraging our success to expand our reach and expand commitment from companies in the industry. And 2024, achieving sustainability of this program, which will, to David's point earlier, include a model of sponsorship for Project Onramp. So beyond beyond companies paying for interns that they hire, we will be looking to raise philanthropic dollars to run the program through Life Science Cares. So I'm going to pause and see if folks have reactions, questions, comments.
I just want to point out to folks, one trend you're going to see over the 2022, 2023, 2024 sort of process is a deeper engagement with companies. Right now, we talk to them about potential job opportunities. We're hoping in 2022 to offer them more support. But we also want to engage them in the future in really showcasing the company itself and what they're doing to students who are not even working at the company. So, we'd love to do mini field trips to various companies where small groups of students can come and interact with companies and people where they're not working in the summer, to get a broader view. So we're kind of trying to come up with other opportunities for companies to engage with Project Onramp, in addition to just having 1 or 2 interns.
So I'll just start on the discussion. I really love the plan. I like the focusing and building relations. And that there's not explosive growth. I don't know how that could be sustainable right now. But what the themes I really like in here, though, are, first of all, in 2022, it's a should have, and I hope we get to this, providing the company's materials for trainings, the resources and trainings, and really kind of setting an expectation of what's expected for these, the experience for the interns. And then how that follows in the next years about then finding those companies who are doing it well and strengthening those ties. I really like that. I think as for Project Onramp, to find out what's working and then just build from those, rather than to try to, not boil the ocean by trying to fix something that's not working well. So I'll just put a plug in for, I really like what you guys have taken and heard from everyone and built into this. I think it really is super fantastic.
Thank you, Lori. I think one of the things, like, as we were, I think we at first thought we'd have to try to solve for a problem being more companies interested in hosting interns than we would have interns necessarily. But actually that's a great opportunity for us, because then we can start to really use the platform, right? To push companies to be more inclusive, to be developing supportive environments, to be developing work that touches the competencies that students need to ultimately find their future. So it's been really helpful through this process to think about that not as a challenge, but as an opportunity to really work with companies to build the best in class way to do this.
Hi, this is Nicole Barna speaking. I agree. I think this looks really great. I love what you guys have pulled together. Just a question on the sponsoring. I'm wondering if you thought about alternatives for maybe smaller companies that relied on on the state funding for their interns, just so that the program isn't limited to sort of bigger commercial stage companies. You can still have biotech companies participate.
Yeah, I guess I should say that at least how we're thinking right now, we are, I think, poised to seek out a couple of sponsors for the program overall that may be larger organizations, or frankly, maybe companies that have been interested in Onramp but aren't the best suited to host interns, and ask them to turn their passion and commitment into a sponsorship for the program, not requiring every company host to pay into the program. I think we're looking for some key stakeholders to kind of drive the sponsorship piece.
Yeah, and we're not seeing any link. We're not creating any link between sponsorship and interns, having interns. Companies, a small company that's not sponsoring can step in and have 10 interns if they want to. There won't be any sense that, like, well, if a company sponsors us, we will reserve, a huge number of spots for them or anything like that. We really, really want to open this up to every company that's interested. And I personally have seen that students have incredible experiences at the really small companies as well. So I definitely am committed to preserving that.
Oh, great. Thanks. Sorry, I think I misunderstood that piece.
No. I should have been more clear. I mean, we think, and I guess the devil is when I actually go out to ask. But we think there are some organizations that have been really supportive and interested and passionate about Onramp and the outcomes that we're hoping our ask will actually be a multi-year commitment to try and get us through 2024. We would feel really good if we could line up sponsorship through this whole plan, so that we know that we can then just focus on doing the things as opposed to trying to raise the money to do the things. So fingers crossed.
I agree that the plan looks great. So I have a little bit more tactical questions. So what are the details for sponsorship? What are you looking at for sponsorship? What would it entail?
I think we're still pulling that together. I think we're looking for multi-year commitment, so a pledge from 2022 to 2024. We're talking about probably larger amounts. I mean, the budget right now to run the whole program is, I'm trying to think. And then we're adding, I mean, you'll see here, we're adding some staff and some other stuff.
Right.
I want to be very clear about this scalability is only possible if we can clone Lila and get her some help. And so, you know, it's probably about $250,000 in 2022 to run the program all in. And so we're thinking about developing some sponsors, program level sponsors across the next couple of years. You know, I think as part of that, the sponsors will be invited to participate in some of the programs. I mean, we're always looking for companies to show up as leaders in the summer sessions, in both planning and executing those summer sessions, but then also speaking or volunteering or mentoring, opportunities to help us as we're, fingers crossed, going to physically bring the students together in 2022, and so have some FaceTime with the students, as well as, you know, just there are some, I think, more traditional sponsorship deliverables around visibility that Life Science Cares can offer through our social media and through our other platforms. So.
Okay.
Sarah, this is Ryan from the Mass Life Sciences Center. I just want to say on behalf of the MLSC, you know, we're you know, as you guys know, very committed to continuing to support this program. So I've actually earmarked, you know, funding for the next round of this program for the spring, anticipating, of course, your request. So, you know, at the same level. So just so you know that we can't make multi-year commitments, obviously, because of the way that our funding is structured, and it's always contingent upon the legislature. But you know, we do have those funds reserved for the 2022 program to provide to you guys as well. So as soon as you're ready to submit a proposal for that, we can get that, we can make that official.
Awesome. Thank you, Ryan. You guys have been so great. And I love all the asterisks. You're like, can't do multi-year and it's contingent upon the legislature, but you guys have come through consistently every year and honestly early in, which helps us move forward. You know, that's a big vote of confidence for us. So I appreciate that. And yeah, stay tuned because I'll have something to you in the next couple of weeks.
I would really urge sponsors to think of it as really an investment in the entire industry, because what we really need those sponsorships for is, you know, measuring impact, just having the resources to measure impact well, which will help everyone to really market the program, to have, as Sarah said, just increased visibility, you know, all the things. Like, I feel like we've been really focused on just delivering a good quality program, and now we'd really like to, and the program has been successful, and I think can be more impactful. So that's what we like to build up, and I would hope that the sponsors will sort of relate to that mission.
Cara from Bottom Line here. Yeah, on the program side, I just want to say I appreciate the intentionality here. It's really nice to see a holistic student-centered strategy, and that's what I'm picking up. And I just know from working at many nonprofits that it's really tempting to veer into other areas and let that mission creep kind of sink in, but I'm not getting that here. So that's kind of calming a lot of nerves that, we typically have when we're having conversations with partners. And I was curious from the previous conversation around where the alumni services piece was going to come into play. But I think it's actually really understandable that you kind of pause on that and consider just like what kind of lift and capacity it takes to do that really well. And I'll be really interested to hear in the future, as potentially other life science cares regions pick up this internship program, if there's a way to maybe like centralize that role and do some cost sharing once there are larger alumni cohorts. But overall, I'm really excited to see all of this. So thank you for laying it out so clearly.
I have to give Ife a shout out because Lila and I can talk and brainstorm for days, but to actually put it into some structure that makes sense to communicate to other people, that was his magic to help us really think about what was possible in a given year. And, we want, to Kara's point, we want to do this like really credibly and really authentically. And so we're, I guess, probably usually more honest and open than many about where our limitations lie, but feel really good that at the end of 3 years, this is going to be a program that is kind of firing on all cylinders and just something that's going to be a piece of our industry for hopefully decades to come. So.
As you know, Kara, the alumni piece is near and dear to my heart because a lot of alumni do reach out to me personally. And I've been trying to help as much as I can. And, I would like to build that out, but we do have to be realistic. So we're hoping to underpromise and overdeliver.
I have another question about this idea of really kind of finding best practices in companies. Starting with this year, the company pledge agreement. But what's missing is measurements of that. Is that going to come sort of anecdotally, or would there be a better way to somehow capture some categories of what companies specifically are doing well or not well to help sort of guide what a good partnership looks like? For a company, not the student necessarily.
I think this is what we want to kind of create, Lori. And just to be clear, we're not planning to provide like diversity trainings for companies or anything like that. We want to just have focused material on what companies can do to take on this student population for summer internships, starting all the way from the interviewing process to onboarding, to creating possibly a cohort of students, to creating maybe an internship buddy. So really sort of giving companies steps that they can take. And we haven't done that formally. I've only just spoken with companies about that. So I think once we start to do it more formally, we will be able to pick out those companies who check all the boxes. And in the future, we'll have data about companies that did it well, and we're hoping we'll be able to have people from those companies talk about best practices to our entire company cohort.
Okay, that sounds good. I'm also just kind of thinking along the lines of keeping them accountable, like by, I don't know, I guess I'm trying to be a little harder, maybe from my point of view too, for coming from a large company. It's like, really, make us pledge and then make us show that we've done what we said we're going to do. There's a line there, right? You can't antagonize all the companies, but at the same time, I'd be interested in thinking about ways we can, really keep the bar high and that they meet that.
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to talk to you offline, Lori, about what's possible, because I don't know where that line is.
Yeah.
People. And Nicole, if you'd be interested in joining the discussion as well to represent a smaller company, and Pam as well. Like, I'd love, I'd love any advice you have about where that line is and what we can reasonably expect without it being too much of a burden.
Yeah, that sounds great. I'd love to explore that more.
And that's where, like, you guys can really help us because you're the peer experience, right? Where, you know, you can share stories like, you know, it was hard in my company to do X, but once we got there, you know, it worked incredibly well. Or, you know, that is going to be a really important piece of this, I think, is just modeling and sharing as many of those stories as we can. That's also why, I don't know if we explicitly talked about it during these meetings, but I think it's in 2023, we actually propose building an industry advisory board, like to help us formalize some of this, to start to be more boots on the ground, to amplify some of these and help us pull together some of these materials that we're talking about. I'm going to stop sharing so I can see faces as opposed to my spreadsheet. Right, well, we don't need to belabor things other than we're going to put some numbers to this. We're going to think about a sponsorship model. Certainly going to kind of report back to this group, because I do think, as we're already planning for 2022, Lila can attest, putting those materials together, talking with student support partners about recruitment. We're going to start activating some of you if you want to continue to be engaged in this, to help us draft these materials or think about the changes that we proposed, and really, really appreciate all of your time on this. We had one more meeting on the calendar. I think we want to be mindful of time, and so stay tuned. I don't know yet if we'll need a full meeting for November, if instead we'll just plan some sort of celebration at some point to thank you all in person. But this has been really helpful for us, and we have our marching orders, we have our strategy. And this is the beginning, right? So please continue to share ideas, share examples, share stories with us, because that only helps us get better. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. It was good to see you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Sarah. Thank you, Lila.
Thank you.